All right, today I'm going to be showing you how to rebuild your swivel on a General Pump Hammerhead surface cleaner. The repair part I'm going to be using today is a major swivel repair kit, part number 2100372. What comes inside of this kit is a fully assembled bearing and shaft. You got an O-ring, 3 screws and washers, a spring, and this guy, which is like a little winged piece with 2 seals on it. You can see the 2 seals there. Right. So the first thing we're going to want to do is we have to get the swivel off of the unit. So I'm just going to kind of go through real quick how to get it off, but I'm not actually going to be removing this one. I'm just going to give you the tips of how to get it off correctly. So you need 2 wrenches to do this properly. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my first wrench in here, grabbing this spot here, and my second wrench will go right in this center spot, and right here I will just twist them apart, and that would unscrew this. One thing you definitely don't want to do in this step is you don't want to just take your hand and pull from one of these ends, because you'll bend this bar, and once it's out of alignment, and you're looking at a replacement bar as well. So once I get this bar removed, what I'll do next is flip it over, and I'm going to be removing the high pressure hose from the swivel. Once again, this is only going to require 1 wrench, and I'm just going to unscrew it just like that, and it would come right off. At that point, you'd only have 1 more piece to remove. This is a part that some people miss. It's fairly simple though. If we look here at this ring is actually what's holding this piece in place, and I don't have to remove the ring. I just have to loosen this Allen key a little bit, and what it'll do is it'll open up this seam, thus allowing this to slide right in and out. Pretty simple. So once I got it out, you're pretty much looking at something like this, and this is your swivel. This would be the top part, this would be the bottom where your spray bar is connected. At this point, I want to mention, if your swivel does not have 3 screws here, but instead has a snap ring holding the assembly in, then you will be looking at the repair part 210279 instead of the one I mentioned earlier. And the only real difference between the 2 kits is instead of having 3 screws, the other kit would have the snap ring, but the rest of the repair is going to be the exact same way. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove these 3 screws. So let's go ahead and get them out. And this assembly that I'm working on today is a brand new assembly. Obviously, having a used assembly, things may not come apart as easily, but I can kind of explain what you need to do in whichever scenario. So I'm getting 3 screws out here. And what this piece is called is a splash plate. Kind of stops debris from splashing back up into your unit. Once I get this piece off, you see the plate is loose, but it's still being held on. Really, you can just pull it right apart. This is brand new, so that was really easy. On yours, you might have debris or gunk, or maybe some buildup from hard water kind of holding it all together. You might have to put a little more English on it, maybe even get 2 screwdrivers, pry it up evenly from both sides just to get it separated out of there. But you could see there was nothing really holding it on, and there you can see it's the direct replacement to that piece. If you look down in there, you can still see this wing nut piece down in there, and then underneath that is going to be the spring. That really only leaves 1 more part to worry about, which is the O-ring, which is right in this crease. It's inset in the casing, kind of hard to see, but it's down in there. So there's 2 ways to get this part out. You can either pick it out with a pick or screwdriver. What I like to do is turn it over. I have a rubber mat. 1 nice bang, you see it fell right out. So a lot of people will call here and ask me what the difference between the major and minor kit is. As you can see, if you've been doing your research, these 2 pieces are pretty much the entire minor rebuild kit. So if you pull your assembly apart and you look at this piece and you see that this black seal is broken or ripped up, but your bearings still spin real nice and smoothly, then you could probably make the assumption that all you need is the minor kit. If your bearings are seized up, you need the major kit, no question about it. And this first black top seal, it is public enemy #1. You know, it's the #1 thing that really is going to blow. That's the first seal that the high pressure water hits, so the first one that usually goes. At this point, really, I'm just going to take all the parts and reassemble it just to show you how easy it is. What I like to do in this step, especially on a used one, #1, we're going to clean all the debris out of there. Once we have all the debris cleaned out of there, I like to take some multi-purpose grease and kind of give it a thin layer all the way around. I will also take that same multi-purpose grease and give a thin layer all the way around these bearings also. First thing in, it's going to be the spring assembly. I'll go ahead and lower my spring in there. And you can see it just sits down in the hole. Next step is going to be this wing nut piece with the very important seals. Want to make sure those seals are good. This top seal being out of position or blown will be the main reason why you have water coming out of the bottom of this swivel. A lot of people will see water coming out of this hole. It's because of a seal. And as you can see, I'm lining the wings up with these 2 studs that are down in there. I feel like I got it lined up pretty good. And there it is. I push it down. I can feel a little spring there. It's pushing back up. Studs lined up with the openings in the wing there. This assembly comes pre-assembled. Makes it nice and easy. Like I said, I would usually grease it here. Grease the assembly. Goes right back in. No problem. I'll spin the splash plate until I get all 3 holes lined up. There it is. Now we're going to get these 3 screws back down in here. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you rebuild your Hammerhead swivel assembly. It's pretty straightforward and easy. Might be a lot of gunk in some older units, used units. You got a lot of gunk and stuff in there, but it should still come apart unless it's just seized altogether by rust. But that's really not very likely. And that's it.